The Ministry of Education is considering a proposal to convert all federal colleges of education across the country to universities of education. Minister of Education Tunji Alausa says the plan has become necessary as many students no longer seek admission into colleges of education. Mr. Alausa was speaking during his ministry's 2025 budget defense at the National Assembly. He said that despite budgetary allocation to the colleges of education, some of them have fewer than 1,000 students. He emphasized the need for transition, citing the inefficiency of the current model and comparisons with advanced countries. I'm joined now by the president of the Colleges of Education Academic Staff Union, SMART, Olugbeko. Thank you so much for joining me on the Newsnight. We just heard what the Minister of Education is stating about the colleges of education no longer sort of serving their purpose. He says there's low enrollment, the absence of such institutions when you look at other advanced countries. Then they are now talking about converting them to universities. I just wanted to get your perspective on the fundamental role of colleges of education and why you believe they remain important and significant in Nigeria.
Thank you. This particular statement made by the Honorable Minister has actually generated a lot of reactions all over the country since that statement was made. But most importantly, I understand that the Honorable Minister came on board just barely about 3 months ago, and he is desirous at ensuring that education is actually being given the priority it deserves. And I think it is in the course of that, maybe he has carried out some assessment to have discovered that there are a lot of gaps when it comes to the issue of teachers' education, especially as it affects subscription, to colleges of education. And his prescription of conversion to universities is a statement he made out of the fact that he's looking for a solution, to that problem. But unfortunately, his prescription actually falls short of the solution or the panacea to that problem. Because the fundamental problem is not just about colleges of education, it is about teacher education. And if we are talking about apathy, attrition, and low subscription, it is not just because we have them as colleges of education. Even in the faculties of education, we have low students enrollment. And the last report of JAMB, when they tried to take stock of subscription of students to courses across disciplines, and we discover in that report that agriculture and education, they come last because students don't want to be farmers and students don't want to be teachers. And that remains the problem. And even colleges that have been converted to university, we discover for them to be able to have students, many of them, they have to shift away from education and start getting students from other disciplines. And we cannot run away from this fact because government has actually not given teacher education the attention it deserves. So conversion to university is not actually the solution. It's
not the solution. I hear you. And that brings me to my next question. You spoke about the data from JAMB showing that between 2019 and 2023, only about 211,000 applications were received for NCE programs. That's the Nigerian Certificate in Education, and even fewer admissions from that. Now, you have critics arguing that it reflects the lack of interest when it comes to teaching as a profession. So do you agree that the problem then lies in the perception of teaching? And also, how can we now make that profession more attractive without necessarily converting colleges of education to university?
Yeah, that is where I'm going. When we look at these issues holistically, looking at what becomes the solution to this, and that is why I've said that government attitude to teachers has actually contributed to this over the years. This is not a problem that started 5-10 years ago. It's a problem that has started, many years ago. And today, we continue to see the effect, the accumulation of the problems. And that is why it keeps manifesting when it comes to production of teachers. And that is why you discover that even students that have been given admission, to read education courses, from year 1, year 2, year 3, they still write JAMB because they still want to move away. Even when they talk about admission of maybe 100,000 students, you discover that by the time they get to part 3, they have been reduced. Not just only in college education, but also in the university. And if we are talking about the solution is for government to take teaching as a profession and to be able to treat teachers as professionals and give them the right condition of service that will make people to be able to go into teaching. And when the minister was making a comparison with other climes, other nations, he also should have made comparison on the basis of how do they treat their teachers in those countries. If we go to some other countries in Europe that we usually like to make comparisons, we are looking at comparison in terms of structures of the system of college of education, but we are not looking at making comparison at the level of the conditions of service, the condition that we give to teachers, those who become teachers eventually. And this has become the problem we have today. And if we are talking about that, colleges of education remains very, very, very important. And the reason is because you cannot have a country where you do not have a factory, because it's like a factory where you manufacture the teachers that will take care of the basic level of education. It is not every graduate that can teach at the level of the basic level. Students that pass through college education, they have been well tutored at the level of the pedagogy of what it takes to teach at that level. And that is why it is not just a kind of opportunity for just anybody that calls himself or herself a graduate. But what we find in our schools today is we find teachers that are not qualified. And more than 295,000 teachers have been identified not to have been qualified, but they are teaching in our schools. And yet we have colleges of education where we do not have enough students to come into the system to be able to beef up, as qualified teachers to teach in these institutions. Therefore, if we are looking at the use of the name as a solution, then we have not started to address the problem.
And what are your thoughts on the proposal of a dual mandate for colleges of education, allowing them to concurrently run NCE programs and degree programs? Because some people argue that this contradicts that proposal to convert them to universities, right? So how do you reconcile the two approaches, and what specific benefits, if you agree with the dual mandate, does that mandate system have? I when I heard the statement of the minister, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, because I thought, and I want to believe even now, that what the minister was actually talking about is the dual mandate. That is, college of education, by the assent of Mr. President, to have given them the autonomy to run NCE and degree concurrently, making them to be able to do NCE for 3 years and be able to transit to degree and run it for 2 years. Because one of the problems we have why students do not actually want to go into college education is when they have gone into college education, having spent 3 years, they will have to wait for another year before they could go for direct entry JAM, and that will take them another time. So, and they will go to university to spend another 3 years, make it 7 years. Therefore, it's a time-wasting effort. And on the basis of that, government came together with all stakeholders in education and come up with a dual mandate. The dual mandate is a situation whereby the students will run the education for 5 years, which will make them to become professionals. And by the time they are leaving, they are double qualified as NC graduate and as degree graduate. At the level of the NC graduate, they are able to teach at the basic level, and at the degree level, they will be able to teach at the senior secondary school level. And that is what the country needs. And that is a perfect fit for a system like ours. And quickly, before I let you go, if this dual mandate is implemented, what about funding? Is that sort of a lingering issue? Is the nation ready to fund this transition?
Yes, I think the Federal Ministry of Education has actually written to TED Fund and acquainting them with the new policy, the new law that has made college of education to become degree awarding, and they have been asked to actually incorporate this into part of the plan of TED Fund to be able to fund them. And I think TED Fund is working towards that. And what we are looking, even today, the Honorable Minister still called a meeting where the various agencies, TED Fund, JAMB, NCC and NUC and the ministry, they met to look at how to commence the implementation of the dual mode, and all these factors have been actually put into consideration to see how it will be funded to ensure that there is no hitch as far as it's concerned.
I'd like to thank you so much, Smart Olugbeko, the President's Colleges of Education Academic Staff Union, for joining me on Newsnight.